What's up, everybody? Just sitting outside of an appointment out here in Union, Illinois, and just wanted to put some thoughts down for you and see if maybe it could be being an encouragement with the holidays and everything. There's times where, as a new rep or a rep that even is tenured, you can get bogged down with a lot of things. There's a lot of responsibilities, and both at home and at work, and a lot of expectations. And there's sometimes it's easiest to break something down and put it in a different perspective. And I had a thought, and I want to share it with you guys, and hopefully it's a help. I have a relatively young family. I have a wife of just under 2 years, firstborn son who just turned 1 this month, and then number 2 is on the way. So this last Christmas, so yesterday, we had our we had to come up with traditions. That's what we're trying to do, and it's not as easy as it sounds. You know, you grow up with traditions, and that is something that you just have, and when you have to create your own, it's a little more difficult. But one of the things we came up with was every Christmas morning we want to cook waffles, and it doesn't sound that earth-shattering, and it's not. But waffles are delicious, but they're also very easy to mess up. You can make a bad waffle pretty easily, and it could be too crispy, they could be too chewy, they can be runny, they can be all sorts of bad if you don't do it right. And my wife found a perfect recipe that was a game changer, and that's something that has solidified it as a tradition for us now on Christmas morning. And the big key to that was, in the recipe, it said to warm the milk before we mix it in with the dry goods. So you mix milk with eggs and butter and vanilla, and but before you mix all of that, to heat the milk on the stove. And that's something that changed the whole game. The whole consistency of the batter was different, and it just came out with a beautiful waffle every single time. And that's something that it got me thinking. If you're cooking something, some questions to ask yourself are, what's the most important thing? Is it the ingredients? Is it the recipe, or is it the cook? So that's something that you could argue all three, because the ingredients, if you got to have good ingredients. If they're expired, if they're bottom shelf, if they're just not good, you're doomed to have a terrible meal, right? So your outcome, whatever you're trying to strive for in the kitchen, is going to be bad if you have bad ingredients. So you could argue that all day. If you have a bad recipe, that doesn't matter how good your ingredients are, if they're not put together right. That's going to be set up for failure as well. Case in point, the heating of the milk before mixing in with the rest of the ingredients changed the whole thing. And then you could argue, so that's a good argument right there. And then you could argue the cook. So the cook has to be knowledgeable, has to be able to execute, because you could have the best ingredients, best recipe, but if you're not executing, don't know what you're doing, not doing the right things at the right time, it's going to not turn out right. It's not going to turn out the way it was supposed to. And obviously, what does that have to do with anything? This is all an analogy for our jobs here at Cintas. Is you got to look at the sales rep position as a cook in the kitchen. Essentially, you have to look at we have to put together the ingredients the way that it's supposed to be put together to come out with our outcome, and that's a sale. That's money in our banks, but that's customers that are satisfied and packages submitted, baby. And that's something that it's fun to think about, because you have to argue what's most important. So you have ingredients, which is our product. So you got the best products in the industry, and you can't argue with that. So in our space, in our service and rental space, you have to trust that you have the best ingredients in the kitchen, right? So you are trusting that Cintas is providing you with cutting edge technology, cutting edge services and products for our customers, and that's something that our competition can't even offer. So you trust that. So that's done. So you have the best ingredients. You're in the kitchen, and now you have a recipe. And that's our sales process. So that's the RBS, required based selling. That's your phone scripts, and that's the the whole process of getting an appointment, contacting your prospects or current customers, and running that sales call when you're in there. And that's the recipe. And you have to argue, I have the best ingredients, and now I have the best recipe. And that's our job, is to internalize that, memorize it, and then personalize it. And then it comes down to what I would say arguably is the most important piece. And it is, that's us. That's the cook. That is the sales rep that has to take these ingredients, put them together as the recipe says, and give it to the customer. And you have to be able to give a well-cooked meal every time in order for us to not starve or lose our jobs, essentially. So you're hired to cook. I'm hired to cook, and I have to take the ingredients that we have, which are the best. The recipe, it's my requirement and my job, my responsibility to follow that recipe. And recipes are very specific. And there are certain times you have to add things. If you've ever cooked, if you add something too early or too late, it doesn't work. And you have to be able to handle that. And then it comes down to what makes a good cook. Produce consistent meals that are perfect every time. And it really comes down to experience. If I went with the cooking analogy, a chef that is able to go with the flow, to take variables, the curveball of the objection as soon as you walk in the door, or we're good. No, we're good. It's being able to cut through that and take those variables and apply them to your experience. And that's what's going to continue to get you to improve. So if you're sitting there, you're a new rep, you're experienced rep, but you're in a slump, it could be as simple as looking at it as, I just need to keep cooking. You just need to keep cooking meals. And that's me right now, just over 1 year in the sales position, 10 years with Cintas. But in this position, I am simply out here cooking as many meals as I can. And that's something that has produced better results over time for me. Your closing ratio, essentially how many new P's am I doing? How often is that turning into business, and how big is that business every single time? So it's all of those pieces into it. But all three of those are key, but it's the cook. You have to trust that you have the right ingredients, follow that recipe, and you will be producing results. And it's if you're sitting there, if you're not getting Summit, if you're not on PC Pace, if you need to improve, which we all need to do, what you need to do as a cook is look at your meal that you're cooking right now. And that's your appointment you're in, the call you're about to make, the package you're about to submit. Is it better than the one you did before? Is it better than the meal you cooked just before this one? It's not comparing your plate to the plate of a rep that's been in the role for 5-10 years. Those experienced cooks are going to have great meals, and you need to work and strive to do that. So that's something that it's encouraging to me as I think about it, but I want it to be encouraging to you guys that we need to continue to cook and positively be discontent, not being okay with what you just did, because what got you here won't keep you here. The numbers are always going up. We need to make sure that the meal we're cooking right now, the appointment you're going into right now, make sure that it is better than the one you just did. Follow that recipe, memorize it, internalize it, and then personalize it, because that's the best chefs. The best chefs out there can go with the flow, make it happen. They have the recipe memorized, and they're able to take it to that next level. And that's something that I believe that all of us can do. There's skills, and then there's effort, and you will not sit in your car, sit in front of an appointment, sit in front of your phone, and use the excuse of its lack of effort. It cannot ever be lack of effort. Skill is skill, and some people have it in different ways. There's different strengths, but effort cannot be a part of the equation that you lack. Effort is something that is a game leveler, and it's 80% effort, 20% skill, and make sure that you're putting in that effort. That's what I'm committing to as well. Something that as I talk through it, I'm learning it, and just wanted to share it with you guys. But just make sure that we're continuing to cook meals, get better at it, because you will get better over time, and you will hit those summits. You will hit that PC pace if you continue to cook the way you're supposed to. So that's some thoughts from me. If you have any questions or need anything from me, please give me a call, and I will help you as much as I can. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.